All right, here we go. The late night happy hour. It's a Friday. Fired up. We got two great guests. Maybe some others coming in. John Von Tobel's here. Smart guy with his NASA hat on. And Dave Cokin, the legend, is back on a Friday. Much to talk about. What's up, Dave?
I was just telling John before we taped, gambling's a funny business, especially when you do it on an everyday basis. And, I hope I don't jinx myself by saying this, but it's been pretty good for me lately. And a good example, I bet 3 matchups in this week's PGA event. And one of them was a clean winner. The other 2, my guys both missed the cut. And I won both matchups anyway because the opponent missed the cut by even more. So that's when things are going pretty good.
That is some luck. Because we know from following you on Twitter, sometimes luck is not on your side, Dave.
No, but you'll notice there haven't been many complaints over the past few months. It's been 2020 has sucked for most people, but it hasn't been a bad year for me.
How's everything going with Wager Talk?
Really good. Beyond my expectations, actually. Good company. They do a lot of great promotion, and I'm pretty impressed.
Jay Miller Vegas checking in. Heard you on Chicken Dinner. You are good if you didn't know. That I actually went on with Sam, John, Peniotovich.
Yeah.
And we really didn't even do handicapping. I just told stories about how I got to Vegas and stuff like that. Dave, I told him, I don't know if you remember like a lot of the stuff that went on at Sports Fan. So when
I remember a lot of stuff, sure.
Well, when I first got to town, I came in like August of '96. I think JT had been there since April. You were there longer. And I was a producer up until like December or January. And if you remember, there was a guy named Wild Bill who was doing the morning show with Ryan Williams.
Yes.
And, like he was really Wild Bill. He fucking OD'd. Like he lost it and he started falling. He was on a morning show with Williams and he started falling asleep during the show. And Charlie Barker, who was the boss at the time, was like, you want to fill in? I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And like, that was basically like the beginning of my, pro radio career. The guy before me just OD'd. So that's how I got the slot.
That's a classic.
Right. So I was great. That's why I got it. Now they were just gave it to me and they're like, we'll keep him around.
Dude.
So, thanks to Wild Bill.
Well, nobody OD'd, but that's literally how I got started at VSiN. Like there was an emergency and they're like, John, you want to fill in? And I was like, sure, why not? And I filled in and then they were just like, yeah, he's fine. Just leave him. And that's it.
Dave, how did you – I don't think I ever talked to you about, like, how you got your first on-air chops out here. Like, when did you get the first chance out here?
87. Somebody it was Chris Connors, who was from Apple Valley, but had connections in town, and introduced me to Lee Pete. And he asked me if I wanted to go on Lee Pete's show on a particular Thursday. And it's like, yeah, you kidding? I mean, everybody listened to Lee Pete. Yep. If you were a sports fan or sports bettor in 14 West Coast states, you listen to Lee Pete between 10 p.m. and midnight. I mean, it was a completely different era of sports talk radio, but it was a lot of fun. So, yeah, obviously wanted to go on. And Lee and myself hit it off, and I started going on once a week and then twice a week, and eventually was on every night. And then Lee retired, and I took over the show. That's awesome. It's weird how this stuff goes.
And that was always at the Stardust?
No, we were all over the place. First location was the Frontier.
Nice.
We were at Imperial Palace. We were at the Hilton.
Nice. Look at you.
We were at the Hilton. Stardust was only weekends. The Stardust show was on throughout that time frame, but it was only on weekends. And I mean, great memories of the Stardust with celebrity stuff, not involving me, but a night where Jim Brown was a regular on the Sunday night Stardust show with Joe Chevalier and Lee, and they almost got in a fight one night.
Who?
Chevalier and Jim Brown.
What?
Joe was spouting off about something, and Jim said, "Yo, you never played. What do you know?" And Joe's like, "I don't have to have played the game to know what I'm talking about." And they really got really pissed at each other, and awesome. I forget who it was. I can't remember who it was. It literally had to break him up because they were ready to go at it. That would not have gone well for Joe.
No, that wouldn't have gone well.
But he wasn't backing down. And Michael Jordan, great Michael Jordan story. He was there with his dad, and
holy shit!
And they were playing you remember the old horse racing machines?
Of course, yeah. They still have them at the G.
They were sitting there having a drink and playing the horse racing machine, quarters, right? And so somebody, I don't remember who our producer was. I can't remember. Oh, it was Gene Harvey. Jesus, it was Gene Harvey. And Gene went over and asked Michael Jordan if he would come on for like 5 minutes.
Really?
And he said, yeah. And he said, yeah,
really?
Sure.
That's awesome.
He ended up doing 45 minutes and then signed autographs for everybody there.
Wow.
Good Michael Jordan story.
Yeah, believe me, anyone who's met Jim Brown, I mean, he's an old man now, but I was around Jim Brown probably 20 years ago, just at a golf tournament, and like he was still freaking intimidating even in his mid 60s, early 60s, like still a presence. So I can only imagine, 10 years before that what he was like. Freaking built like a brick shit house, and Papa Joe was not built like a brick shit house.
No, he was not.
So for Joe to step up to him was pretty freaking awesome.
The best quote ever was on that show. Not that show, but on the Stardust Line show with Lee Pete. And we had Michael Spinks on.
Oh, really?
And this was a couple of years removed from his fight with Tyson. And he just flat out admitted on the air, he said, I was terrified.
Really?
Yeah. You don't hear a great fighter, an all-time great fighter like Michael Spinks freely admitted he was terrified of Mike Tyson. It's like, wow, it's pretty cool to say that. That's kind of like a guy who admits that.
Brady says, was Bo Derek at the Stardust? No, different times. Different times.
Well, no, it wasn't the same time frame, but that was only outdoors on one very cold night at the Mirage.
With a special blanket.
Yes.
Did you ever meet Lefty Rosenthal?
No.
No.
Saw his TV show a couple of times when I was visiting. I think the show went off the air in '79. I didn't move here until a couple of years after that. But I did see his TV show a couple of times. Like Sinatra would be on, Rickles. Yeah. He had big guests. But he had already been, by the time I moved out here, he had been blackballed, or whatever they call it. And he left town shortly after that. I never met the man.
You ever use his parking spot at Tony Roma's?
No, I did not.
That was kind of jinxed at that point after.
Got a Tony Roma story, though.
Oh, no. Here we go.
Which
one? Where was it? That one or downtown, or where was it?
No, there was only one at the time. The one on East Sahara.
Yeah.
Which I assume is still there.
John, you know the story, right? So in the movie Casino, Lefty Rosenthal, like the main character, but his car got friggin' blown up. The Cadillac got blown up at the Tony Roma's, which is right there in East Sahara, which, that was kind of the joke. So if people didn't get it, sorry about that.
Mine was, I was in there with a date. So we're sitting in a booth, and at the old Tony Roma's, the place was always packed. You got to realize it was a small town at that time. So there weren't that many really popular restaurants, and Tony Roma's was always jammed. And they had, the hostess would be up in the front behind a little table, and they would announce, Cokin party of 2, and you'd go up, and then they take you to the booth. So we're sitting in a booth someplace in the back, and every couple of seconds there's an announcement, whatever party of 4. And all of a sudden, this voice comes on, and it goes, Lipschitz party at 9! And he just starts screaming crazy names. Jerry Lewis had commandeered the microphone, and he was just going nuts on it, and just calling out random names. And everybody, the whole restaurant's cracking up.
That's pretty good, Jerry Lewis, by the way. That was pretty spot on. The man of 1,000 voices over here. Actually, that's Adam Hill, but Dave Cokin, man of 998. Nice job. Great. We got to book you on the Strip. I miss those acts. We used to have all the impersonators on the Strip. Not anymore. So you know what? I actually want to start out using Dave's mind here because John, I'm sure, would like to learn about it, and I want to hear more about it. Sucks with all the crappy stuff going on the last couple of days. Comes across tonight, and I got sad for a couple of seconds. But Bob Gibson was, one of your era's guys, and I saw you talking about actually. Come on, like I've seen some stuff in person. Dave obviously was a little bit older than me. To have stories of witnessing Bob Gibson in person, what was that like?
Yeah. The interesting thing is I didn't see him in the 67 World Series because I saw him on TV, but not in person because I didn't get to go to those games. But Did see him twice. Once was at Shea Stadium. The other time was my family was bi-coastal. We had a California section and the New England section. And depending on the year, one would travel to the other coast. And in 1969, we traveled west. So we decided to go to a Padres game. That was their first year. And Gibson's pitching for the Cardinals against the Padres. And the game sticks out. I still remember the whole game because of what took place in the game. Walt Griniak, who went on to gain some fame as a hitting coach around Major League Baseball. He was the catcher for the Padres that night. And the first time up, Gibson used to smoke people inside all the time. I mean, he was very intimidating. Griniak just kind of stuck his hip out and got hit by a pitch right in his butt and goes down to first base. Next time up, he does the same exact thing. And Gibson was really, I mean, you could see he was pissed. I mean, he's stomping all over the place and yelling at Griniak. He was not happy. And the Padres actually had hit him a little bit in that game. Not after that. I don't think they got a hit the rest of the game. The Cardinals won 3-2. And it was like, that was pretty cool watching Gibson really get angry. And I mean, I don't know what his MPH was. That was before the radar guns, but he was throwing real hard after that incident with Griniak.
Yeah, I don't know if you could see this tweet, but some guy named Josh said I once asked Lee May, who was the toughest pitcher I ever faced. He said Bob Gibson because he'd throw at your head and then be halfway to the plate to fight you before you even had a chance to stand up.
That was Gibby. He's one of the all-time greats, and boy, this year's been nasty for losing superstars.
Yeah, it's not been good. It's not been good. We never even really talked about Tom Seaver, who, you know, when you start talking about best right-handers of the 20th century, I mean, you're talking about two of the guys right there.
Oh, yeah. I would say if I were going to name the three best righties, there's going to be arguments on this, but Gibson, Pedro in his prime was unbelievable, and Seaver, obviously. Best lefty, Koufax, even though his career wasn't that long.
I'll argue that Maddox on the 15-inch mound would have been pretty interesting.
Yeah. Maddox always gets overlooked because he didn't have the pure stuff those other guys had.
Right.
But in terms of just knowing how to pitch, I don't think that there might never have been anybody better.
By the way, I throw that out there like as a light note. I mean, you know about this, Dave, obviously. When Gibson posted the 1-1-2, baseball was like, oh, shit. Like Gibson actually, and there were a lot of pitchers who were awesome, but Gibson led the way. Like that was the impetus to freaking change the mound.
Yep. Yeah.
How many players in history can make a claim like I changed the rules of the game?
Well, and 61 changed it the other way because, you know, the home runs were ridiculous in 61 and they raised the mound either in 62 or 63. I don't remember which. And the pitchers took full advantage of it. And by 68, I mean, Denny McClain wins 31 games. Gibson has an ERA just over 1. It was unfair.
Yeah, over 300 innings too. Like that's what was impressed me the most when I was reading up about him. Like to do that over 300 innings in one season is fucking incredible.
In 64, he pitched Game 7 of the World Series against the Yankees on 2 days rest and went the complete game and won.
That's fucking
2 days rest. They won't now. If a guy goes on 3 days rest, it's like, well, I don't know. This is they're really stretching this guy. It's a completely different era.
Someone asked, right-handed pitcher, no Nolan Ryan, I guess, or Dwight Gooden in his prime, and Dwight Gooden had a short prime.
Yeah, I didn't put Ryan. I mean, Ryan for any one game, absolutely, but his career numbers aren't even close to the other guys. Yeah. You know, he was. Well, and he lost a lot of games too. But for one night, is there anybody you would have rather seen than Nolan Ryan? Because anytime you went to the park, there was a chance something really historic was going to happen.
Yep. Pedro was pretty good, too. I hated his guts, but Pedro was damn good.
His numbers in the midst of the steroid era
are
absolutely incredible. And I think it was 98 or 99, I can't remember which. His ERA was 2 runs better than his closest competitor in the AL. That's the most ridiculous margin of all time.
What happens? What's your reaction if I come back on Pedro that Pedro might have been using?
It's possible.
Yeah. You never know. We've seen a lot of pitchers who use, and the pitchers kind of got off scot-free because everyone thought, oh, the steroid effect is, looking like McGuire or, goddamn Glenn Bragg with the sleeves cut off. Pitchers, there's clearly pitchers use. I mean, Frankie Montas, right? Last year, clearly pitchers use it, and when it works, they get higher velocity, and they can be more durable.
But that was the big thing on the pitchers was that recovery time. They didn't do it to build. They didn't care about looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger. They wanted the quick recovery, and apparently helped as far as that goes.
Yep. All right, so John, jump in here because I know you and Dave were talking about baseball betting strategies, and Dave, I was asking you early in the week. It's funny how these 3-game series worked out because they ended pretty quickly. But I was talking about dogs advancing, and we did get a couple of dogs. You got a couple of good-sized dogs. Slight dog in the Astros. Marlins advanced as well. So what do we got, John? What are you looking at in terms of a strategy? Throw it at Dave and let's see what the audience thinks.
Well, I'd also say, Steve, the Astros opened as a slight dog. We were talking about this before we came on. The Astros opened up, for those that didn't know, as it was like Twins minus 120. I think PointsBet was first to market with these series prices. They closed over at William Hill, the Astros, plus 160, and that's where I bet them. And that was without Donaldson. Like, it was ridiculous. So my thought at that first, Dave, was so they have the A's in this next round. Opens up A's like minus 120. If I'm getting above even money with the Astros at like a plus price, I'm kind of interested because I think the hate by the market is driving the price up a little bit too much on the teams they're opposing,
Yeah, I don't disagree with that either. I don't know what to do because Houston won the 2 games. That might have been more thanks to the ineptitude of the Twins. And I'll say a great managing move by Dusty in game 1 to basically just yank Greinke after 4 innings and put Valdez, who everybody thought was going to start game 2. He piggybacked Valdez on top of Greinke, and boy, that really worked.
He was
great. Swung the series. It was a great move by Dusty.
No, it was absolutely fantastic. And, it's like when I looked at even their offense too, their offense has sucked and it wasn't really that good in this series. They probably could have put more runs up in game 1. Was it Maldonado who was trying to stretch out a play at third or something like that? His fat ass was chugging along second for no reason whatsoever. So their offense still kind of sucked. But you know what I took away with this, Dave? And I love numbers and I hate anecdotal stuff when it comes to analysis. They're kind of gamers, man. George Springer in game 1 was in the middle of everything. Being there at some point, you know what I mean, kind of helps you out.
Yeah, no question. Oakland finally gets the monkey off their back, though. And that should help them psychologically because they've been a bad playoff team. And they come from behind in this one to do it after losing the first game and basically getting no hit for 6 innings. It could have been a 2 and done for them. So but they don't have a home field advantage either. So, if the price is right, I can't argue against the Astros.
Yeah, I don't want it now. I'm waiting to see if it comes up. And Mark, I don't think it's the only reason behind the move. I think a lot of people like the Twins. But to me, right, I always like to look at implied probability, things like that. The market moved it so high to where you're talking about plus 160, that's an implied probability. I think it's 33% or something like that. And the Twins are missing somebody really good in Donaldson. There's support for the Twins, and then there's something else I couldn't explain with that series price. And to me, it seems and maybe Dave, you can speak to that too, is just the market doesn't like the Astros, and sometimes money's going in against them.
Yeah, I think that had a lot to do with it. And look, what also had a lot to do with it was the fact the Astros were an awful road team this season. Yeah. And they had a terrible record, I think, of 2-11 on the road against winning teams, 4-13 overall. The Twins were a better team than the Astros, but the Twins, who can explain how a team can now lose 18 straight playoff games?
It's nuts.
It's unbelievable.
It's like a curse.
I'm surprised nobody's done one of those rollover things. Well, if you'd have bet $100 against the Twins and rolled it over every game, it's nobody did that, okay?
For 16 years. Come on.
Right. Every time he went to the bookie, just leave this parlay open. I'm just going to roll this over.
Yeah, really. Those are the dumbest tweets of all time because it's there are 0 people who did that. 0. So why even bring it up?
What do you make a Rays Yankee? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, no, go ahead. That's where I was going.
I was going to say, what do you make of Rays Yankees? Because Tampa Bay owned New York this year in the regular season, and yet I'm looking at Yankees on the screen right now, minus 130.
I got to tell you something. I'm interested in the Rays.
Right.
I mean, the Yankees are a tremendous offense and capable of being tremendous on the mound too. But this Rays team has been the best team, well, along with the Dodgers, the best team in baseball. They love this no respect role. They love the fact that nobody knows who they are. I mean, you could ask even more than average baseball fans to name the Rays starting lineup, and you're going to go. I don't think they're intimidated at all, and I think the Indians were, to be honest with you. They certainly looked it in Game 1. I don't think the Rays are. It's a great series, and you know who I'm rooting for from a fan standpoint. It isn't the Yankees. The flip side of that is I'd like to see Yankees Dodgers because that's a World Series that would get tremendous visibility, and I'm kind of one of those people who anything that's good for the game is something I like, and I have to admit that Yankees Dodgers is the matchup that's going to get the most eyes.
Truth from check that. CJ Cards fans asking Dave how fair is it to judge the Yankees against the Rays in season when they really weren't healthy?
That's part of the problem. But the Rays, guarantee you, Kevin Cash, he probably won't even have to do it, will be selling that narrative to the team. It's like, well, nobody's giving us credit because the Yankees were all beat up when we beat them every game during the regular season.
Right.
So typical no respect. And I think the teams, they're buying into it. Cash is, I don't know that there's a better manager out there. I mean, he's a mad scientist, but his stuff works. And he's kind of like, he's got the Joe Madden outside the box individuality and mentality, but his stuff works, and Madden's kind of stopped working a couple of years ago.
What do you think of this point? Is this bullpen too? Beyond Garrett Cole, New York pitching is garbage?
No. Tanaka is a very good postseason pitcher. I don't regard the other night. That was just a weird situation. He sat for 40 minutes because of it was more than that because they had a rain delay before the game, and then they had another rain delay after the top of the first. And I don't think there's any question it messed with him. And he had a bad first inning. He'll be all right. And their bullpen, listen, you're not going to see lasagna in a big spot anymore. And Chapman looks pretty good right now. So, no, I think the Yankees pitching is pretty good, and their offense is just downright scary. And by the way, Jay Happ's throwing the ball well down the stretch. So their number 3 starter isn't the worst guy of all time either. I think it's going to be a really good series.
My cat attacked my camera.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Cat, goddamn cats.
Sure, blame it on the animal.
Dave knows all. Well, John's a new cat owner, so he.
Really?
I get texted once in a while about the new kitten. He's like, I didn't know kittens did this. I'm like, yeah, they're looming.
Is he fixed yet, or is it fixed yet?
No, we're going actually tomorrow.
Good move, because otherwise the spraying will take place, and you don't want that.
Yeah, and it's a she, so like sometimes like female cats just get pregnant on their own. It seems like it's kind of weird.
It doesn't even go out. It just
Right.
Well, I can guarantee you one thing: that might not be the case, but you'll have a lot of tomcats hanging around the house.
Oh, yeah. Sniff it out.
So what about So we got 2 other series too. I'm really interested in this. What do you do with Padres and Dodgers? I'm wondering what the price is going to be. What do you think the price is going to be?
It's going to be decent sized. It's got to be. I mean, the Dodgers, they're just the best team.
Market really likes the Pod Squad, though.
Yeah, they're exciting, but they're also the pitching is very sketchy. I don't know if Lamette's going to be available. I don't think Clevenger is going to be available. He supposedly was doing some running today and was not. He was very frustrated, is what I heard. So it doesn't look like he's going to be around. And tonight was actually remarkable. What did they use? 9, 10 pitchers, and they pitched a shutout.
Yeah.
That's not happening against the Dodgers. And I don't know what they're going to do with their starters because Paddock's a mess right now. It's just not a good situation. I don't think they could beat the Dodgers in a full series.
So
well,
that's the other thing.
It's 3 out of 5.
That's the other thing we're talking about, Steve, too, is so like Paddock for game 1 against the Cardinals, he opened up like $1.75 favorite. And like eventually got down to like $1.55, $1.60. But like the prices on Paddock are nuts. But you know what I found even more interesting, Dave, was that Davies gets the start, and like I think they ended up losing that game, but like Davies gets the start, and he was like $1.50 compared to $1.75 with Paddock. Like I find it amazing the market's respect for Paddock, considering how good Davies had been this year.
Yeah, but Davies doesn't wow anybody.
Right.
I mean, his stuff. If you watch him pitch, it's like, how is he even in the majors? He's in the majors because he commands his stuff well, but he has no chance of getting by when he doesn't have his command, as was the case in Game 2 against the Cardinals. And they're down 4-0, boom, and it looks like the series is over. Came back, and the team's got a lot of guts though, and they can rake.
Yep.
So it could be a really good series. I will say this: if the same Kershaw shows up as we saw last night, that's going to be a problem. I mean, his stuff was sensational last night. I know he's got the shaky postseason resume, but boy, he was just great last night.
Wait. Did you guys mention Bueller?
I'm less certain on Bueller.
All right. Well, so here's the thing on Bueller. I could probably punch up the picture. Jesus Christ, the blister?
Yeah.
You see a picture. How do you recover from that? The pitch in the postseason, and then you got allegations that they're doing something illegal to cover it up. I mean, they would have to. How do you pitch with a blister like that?
I don't know. It's been bothering him all season too.
Oh my God.
That's why he missed starts and had to come out early in other starts. And his stuff, quite honestly, hasn't been. I don't think it's been last year's level. He's still good, but he's not ace level right now.
Right.
So the Padres might be able to get it. Look, there's other questions on the Dodgers, and one of them is Kenley Jansen. Guy's throwing 86 and 88 miles an hour in Game 1. So much so that Roberts, made some kind of an excuse basically, but they didn't even use him in the same situation in Game 2. It's like, nah, we'll give him the night off. 86, 88, he better be really good in terms of locating the ball, or the Padres will get him. And so these games won't be over late.
Well, Dave, are they allowed to swing? If they're in the late innings, are they allowed to swing, or they just got to walk off the field and quit?
What do you mean?
It was a bad reference to the Tatis Grand Slam thing.
Okay. Yeah, I'm glad most people are siding with Tatis. There's some old geezers, my age group. It's bad for the guys. These rotten kids, stay off my lawn. I love it. I think it's great. It's fun. Why not? A bat flip on every homer is okay with me, especially a good bat flip.
Especially the Cardinals, by the way.
Right.
Fuck the Cardinals. But you know what, John? It's funny. You retweeted a guy. What was his name? Scott Fawn.
Yeah, he's like a publisher for something.
And he said, startling news last night that I'm sure all of us had all of it. This is so poorly written. Anyway, he basically said the Padres are assholes, and he's a Cardinals fan. The Padres are assholes for bat flipping, and this is where all this starts. These fucking douchebag Cardinal fans who have anointed themselves, or at least Joe Buck and someone else anointed them, best fans in baseball, and they're everyone from the organization of the fans is like the arbiter of baseball and what the unwritten rules are. Shut up.
These people, you want a description of these people? Their version of the Kama Sutra only features the missionary position.
Well, believe me, if I showed you a picture of this guy, he ain't getting any position. Fucking fat back, and he's going to have someone bobbing on his knob because he wasn't going to twist or do anything. So, I really loathe Midwesterners with that attitude, like old school. And it's funny. He actually it's not funny. It's actually a weird twist. In his tweet, I don't know if you noticed, John, when you retweeted him and you're like, this is why young people don't like baseball, because guys like this, because his whole point was he actually, before we found out that Bob Gibson died, he had Bob Gibson in a photo. Like Gibson would have never tolerated the bat flip. You're right. It was 50 years ago. Things have changed. All right. They can do it. We saw the KBO. These guys are flipping the bat. It's like artistic. Let them have a little fun. What's the big deal?
Dude,
if what's his name can do whatever, Fernando Rodney can do this and fucking arrow in the air, well, then the hitters get to do it too.
Yeah, why not?
This is quite the look now that I see it on camera.
I'm totally down with it. I think one of my favorite games that I just like watched on television. It was it the Blue Jays and the Rangers? Was that the divisional series? Like, it was a great series, and it was Toronto who eventually got. I think was it Bautista actually added the insurance run or whatever it was, and like the chuck into the bat and everything. Like, that was a great game, and it was so much fun. And the reason why that's memorable, even though Bautista's a dick sometimes, is the fact that the whole bat flip, the grandeur of the moment, everything was absolutely great. Like, you need it. Yeah. You absolutely need it. It's so much fun.
Bautista's a putz because he did the bat flip, and then he's like rules guy. Well, you can't do it against us, though. I can. I can also freaking take 96 into your ribs if you want, bro. Yeah. Or if you want, you can walk out to the field again, and Rudet Odor will deck you right in the face. How fucking awesome was that?
Hey, he took that punch like a champ, though. He didn't go down.
He didn't go down. He didn't even go. Did he even go to a knee?
I don't think so. No, I think
he just he wobbled.
Great.
That shit was awesome.
I love it. Did we Dave, we hit the last series yet?
I was about to ask. So, Dave, do you give the Marlins a chance? Like, because with these shorter series, I feel like if you got pitching like that, like if you got a really good shot, and the Braves had trouble with that red staff, and then the red staff's really good, but Cincinnati held them down for a good minute of that series.
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. Anybody's got a shot, and they're as loose as can be right now.
Right.
But the Braves are really good.
They are.
They're really good. Honestly, I want to see the Braves in the NLCS against either the Padres or the Dodgers. That could be a terrific series. I'm real impressed with Atlanta. And by the way, they're a fun team to watch. They got some fabulous young players in that team, and Freddie Freeman might be the MVP. Acuna is just an amazing talent, and they can throw it. Nobody knows who Max Fried is, basically, if you're not a real fan, and he's the best lefty in baseball right now. So that could be good. I think Atlanta's going to handle him. I think the Marlins will have trouble. With a much better lineup. The Cubs everybody's talking about how bad the Reds were with the bats. The Cubs were just as bad.
Well, and Dave, to be honest, the Cincinnati, obviously, like, they've been like that all year long, but so have the Cubs. The Cubs just have name recognition. You know what I mean? People are like, it's the Cubs. I'm like, they're off. It's like 1-0 games every fucking day, like every game. It goes back to like last year. Like, they're so fucking boring.
Well, Baez has not had a good year. Chris Bryant's been unhealthy the whole year, and he's clearly not playing at Chris Bryant level. Rizzo never really got going, and he's not the youngest guy in the world. They still think Almora can hit, but he can't. Cubs, be interesting to see what the Cubs do in the offseason, because they look like a team that's going to get passed by a couple of squads in that division next year. I think their window's kind of closing right now.
By the way, and Twitter's stupid because people don't know what they're talking about. There were people with the nerve that were like, "Oh, here we go with you, Darvish, in the postseason again." I'm like, are you watching this fucking game?
He was great.
He was fucking incredible. Give him one run.
Yeah, I mean, he made a bet. He probably was getting tired, and he located a pitch right down the middle, and some guy hit it through the wind. I mean, that ball was crushed. But you're not going to win if the other team shuts you out. So Darvish could have been perfect, and he'd still be 0-0.
Dave, what would you do if you're the Cubs with Chris Bryant? Did he just go from some monster deal, $27 million a year, to like something short for like 2 for 36?
With the Home Depot app, your phone is your most powerful
ESPN
tool.
autoplay.
Find just what
so
you
is a
need.
killer. Thanks.
I don't know what to do with Bryant. He had a bad season. It was clearly injury related, but this is the second straight year where it's been a lot of injuries, and that worries teams.
Why would you trade him at his lowest? Why would you trade CJ Carson? Bryant gets traded. Why would you trade him right now at his lowest point?
Plus the fact that he's not. He's not. You're not going to get anything for him in terms of value at this point between contract status and the injuries. But fans don't know what they're talking about. I'm sorry, but fans, the Lindor stuff with Cleveland cracks me up. Well, they're going to trade him in the offseason. And this is guy, the credentialed media guy, I forget his name, says, they should get 3 starters for him. They're not going to get 3 starters for Lindor. He's a 1-year guy at this point because he'll be a free agent. He's off a bad season. Whatever the Red Sox got for Mookie, cut that in half. And that's what you'll get for Lindor. Maybe 1 starting position player and a prospect. That's it. But the fans don't understand that, and it's like, oh, Lindor's a star. We're gonna trade him because he's not gonna stay here, but we'll get a boatload of prospects or whatever in return. No, you're not. You're not gonna get much of anything. You may as well hang on to him to the deadline next year because he'll do better there than at any other point.
Dave, how much do you think, like, I always found this fascinating, and I know it wasn't that much of a talking point until after the season it will be, I think, but like you were just referring with Lindor, right? He had a terrible season, but like it was 60 games, right? How much do you think this affects like negotiations for certain players? Because you could sit back and go, yeah, your 2020 was awful. It was like, bro, I needed 102 more games and I would have been much better. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But the management will use that as a tool against any guy who had a tough time of it. That's just the way the business works.
All right. Hey, John, real quick, what do you think of the Lakers tonight? Obviously, if you bet the Heat at the right time, you actually got it.
Yeah, I bet it. I got it at 10. So it was early this morning, and I was watching the screen, and I saw it was all going to 9.5, and I was like, all right, cool, I'll grab 10 real quick. And then it's officially announced, even though we all expected, that Goran Dragic band wouldn't play, and it goes to, I think 11 was the highest one. I got to like 10.5 some spots, but I don't know, man. Like, I think it's kind of tough because the Heat are so shorthanded. I think you have to be somewhat like hopeful because it sounds like Bam's going to play in Game 3. That you stuck around for a majority of the game, you made a decent run. You're right in the third quarter. Maybe the Lakers were letting up because it looked like they were going to run away with it. But I think you're kind of feeling good that hey, we stayed within 10 without 2 of our top 3 players, and if we get at least one of them back, like our zone kind of slowed them down a little bit. Like we should be able to get back into this in Game 3. So I think you're kind of oddly hopeful if you're Miami. I could be wrong.
Is this, my old betting angle, I might even do it here, even though I don't follow the NBA at all, is team down 0-2.
Yeah.
Bet them in the first half in Game 3.
You know what's weird, Dave, is like so in the beginning of the postseason, because especially with it, not only was it teams down 0-2 in the first half, it was teams down 0-2 going back home were like really, really hot. First quarter, first half, but you started to like pay half lines in like the first quarter and like the first halves were like really juiced up. They were still getting juiced up in the beginning part of the postseason. I don't know if that's evened out. I haven't kept track of it because it hasn't been on my radar considering everything. But I would say that I think this is the situation where I would be into it because I think some people think the Heat are done, but I think if you're going to get slightly healthier, I think there's something to look at with Miami in the first half for sure.
All right. College football tomorrow. John, you got to play?
I bet Texas A&M plus 18. Circa opened at like 13. So I took 18, and you go back, like the one thing I think is kind of positive for Texas A&M is like all the mistakes, like all the issues against Vandy were like self-inflicted wounds. Like I think those are things that are correctable. But like their front seven was really good, their defense was really good, and like quietly Alabama, even though they beat the snot out of Missouri in like 3 quarters, they only averaged like 3.1 yards per rush, and like it wasn't insanely efficient on the ground. And, Missouri played them well up front. And I think Texas A&M can do the same, and I think every other part of Texas A&M is a little bit better. So I took 18.
Dave, you and I talked about this today, and I talked to Brad Powers yesterday. He's our Thursday guy, and Brad said, I don't know, I'd be careful playing against Alabama because Saban seemed really pissed off, and he made a real big point of it after the last game that they didn't finish the game. He's been talking all week about finishing the game, playing 4 quarters, so that's the only worry here, right?
That and the fact that he can't stand Jimbo Fisher.
Ooh, all right.
Those two they're not friends. So it could be one of those games where if Nick gets a chance to rub a little salt in late, he might do it. I don't know what to make of A&M. Tremendous hype coming into the season, and then they just sucked against Vanderbilt. I don't think they wanted to show a lot offensively, but still, Vanderbilt's terrible, and to only beat them by 5, that's really bad. So,
Vandy, I got to see a few teams up close last year, and UNLV obviously doesn't play an awesome schedule out of conference. Vandy was one of the worst teams they played. That's saying UNLV, that team beat Vandy, and it was pretty easy as the game went along. That's pathetic. They do not have a loaded roster.
No, I don't think they're winning any games in the SEC. They're just overmatched, and they might get killed tomorrow. Talking about, I don't know why I haven't laid the price in this game. I'm still going to have to go back and look at it again. But LSU off a bad game.
Still 21.
So 21 and 50.5.
Yep.
Just I don't like laying those numbers, but I wouldn't take it. Let me put it that way.
Yeah, I was just going to say real quick, just going back to that Texas A&M game. because I can understand all that, but like, and Dave, you can speak to this too. It seems like 18 is going to be the best number, like the highest it gets. Like it keeps going back down to 17.5 while I've been watching the screen, and to have a number at open 13 now 18, I'll take my chances with that. At 18 points tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, from a number standpoint, it would appear to have the right side. It kind of fits. I mean, it's on a much bigger level. But it kind of fits what I saw tonight, though, because I'm glad I didn't bet the game because my projections had BYU by 19 over Louisiana Tech. And that's a big value.
Yeah.
With the line at 24, and I didn't take it anyway. I have a tendency not to play real big dogs that I don't think have a chance to win the game because they might get run out, and that would worry me tomorrow, especially if Kellen Mond gets in a turnover mode because he can. Kellen Mond is. I'm sorry, I might get proven dead wrong on this, but I don't think he's an NFL quarterback, and I think he's basically the same guy he was 3 years ago.
I would agree with that.
At times very good, but he can make huge mistakes, and Alabama's a team that can expose those vulnerabilities.
He's the reason. He's actually a really big reason why Vandy was sticking around. He fumbled it 3 times. He lost 2 of them. He wasn't really good in that game.
No, it's funny how, that's why you never know what's going to happen with a player. Because if you saw Kellen Mond in his first season, it's like, wow, I can't wait to see what this guy's got when he matures and figures things out and the game slows down a bit. I think he's still the same quarterback he was then. Some guys just don't get better.
So let's go through some of the questions here. Texas actually down to 10 now. Texas, TCU. I talked to Michael Felder's one of our college football guys. I talked to him, Stadium Dude, on Thursday, and he likes TCU to stay in the game, maybe pull the upset.
I don't disagree. Patterson's got a decent squad. Longhorns are very explosive, but it is really tough to lay points in that conference because nobody can play defense. Texas was just, I think they were actually the better team for most of that game against Texas Tech. Their own mistakes kind of did them in, and they ended up getting lucky and pulling the game out. But that wasn't a good performance by any means. And just because they got fortunate last week doesn't mean they suddenly go out and play a lot better this week. TCU, actually, while they lost the game, saw some things I liked against in the Iowa State game. I wouldn't be surprised if that's a game.
What do you think of Aaron's angle here, too, that Texas is coming off an emotional win? He says that's one of my favorite angles in college football, I guess, thinking that, kids are kind of up and down.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't buy it as much. I think sometimes a crushing loss is one thing. Emotional win in the first game. If it was the middle of the season, I might feel differently, but it might be more of a bounce situation. But I don't know. Off the first game, I'm not so sure. And it's not like they're going to flatten out against TCU. I mean, TCU's that's a longtime rival, and no, I don't buy the psychological stuff that much. I just think that TCU might be just capable of giving them a good game.
Dave, what do you think about look-ahead spots? Because they do have the Red River rivalry next Saturday.
Well, how have they done? I'm not a big trend or history guy.
Yeah.
I would have to check and see how they've done prior to playing Oklahoma and who they played prior to playing Oklahoma. Because I think in many years it might have been a non-conference opponent. But it's a little different this year, no non-conference schedule. So I don't know if there's anything you can hang your hat on there.
I'm not a big.
And by the way, no, I'm not. I've never been a look-ahead guy. I think that's a myth. A lot of myths out there in handicapping. That might be one of them. It's a 50-50.
Let's see. Someone, Rhino, has asked a bunch of questions, so let's get to some of his. The total on SMU Memphis is 74. Woo.
Well, not going to be a lot of defense in the game, but I do think SMU is going to try and establish the run. And I think Memphis might as well. So that could slow the game down just enough in terms of drives taking a little more time or a lot more plays. And maybe it keeps it under, but that would be, maybe you get 67 or 68 points instead of 74. It's going to be a lot of points scored. But the odds makers put that in. They know people love to bet overs in games like that. And so the line looks to me to be slightly inflated on the total. Very slightly, maybe like a point or two.
How bullish should we be on Mississippi State? They're laying 17, but does Leach have a chance to actually knock off Alabama, finish first or second in the West?
I don't think he's going to beat Alabama, but it's going to be fun to watch Mississippi State. I mean, it took them exactly one game to turn him into Washington State. I think they threw for like 600 yards last week. And whoever the quarterbacks are, let me put it this way. If you're a high school quarterback with designs of showcasing yourself in the NFL, just you put the call into Starkville. Don't wait for them to call you. Send them tapes. He's making guys a lot of money. Gardner Minshew. I mean, Gardner Minshew couldn't start at East Carolina.
Yep. Dude, they told a great story on the broadcast. I didn't know about this, but during the Dolphins-Jags game, that Gardner Minshew, I didn't realize this, had committed to Alabama because he wanted to be a graduate assistant. And he wanted to go into coaching because he was like, I'm not going to do anything at the next level. And Leach was like, no, come over here, bud. Like, I'll take care of you. And then now he's starting on fucking Thursday Night Football. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and he's pretty good, too.
Right.
I'm not saying he's not turning into the next Mahomes, but he's a starting caliber NFL quarterback. That's Leach.
You know what's funny is they kept making the comparison with Fitzpatrick because of the facial hair stuff. I honestly think he could be a Fitzpatrick. Like, he's never going to be the guy you want to build around, but he'll go from team to team and be a really good starter, and he'll bridge the gap to guys, and you'll win a couple of games with him. And like, he's got that written all over him.
I think he could be better than that.
Yeah,
he's still inexperienced.
Yeah,
I mean, he only had one starting year at Washington State, and then he's an emergency starter for all intents and purposes last year, and now he's won the starting job. I mean, this is a guy who's, I think his ceiling's still got some room.
By the way, there's that Mississippi State thing overall, like, how much do you buy into that, Dave? Because I was thinking of is, I could be wrong about this. You're much more of a college football historian. But you remember when, like, Johnny Manziel and Texas A&M kind of stormed onto the scene, and, like, sure, Alabama dedicated themselves to getting a little bit quicker and more athletic defensively. Like, that's what I feel like this is going to happen. Like, the SEC is going to be like, whoa, what? Like, they're not running the ball. They're just checking it down. And, like, what the fuck is all this? And then in, like, 2 years, everybody's going to be like, yeah, we know how to figure this out.
Right.
I don't know. You mean figure out how to stop it?
Not stop it so much, but he'll be like, he'll be what he was in the Pac-12, like have a few double-digit win years, but nothing really threatening in terms of big picture.
It depends on the defense.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's now going to be able to recruit from a much, much deeper base. And maybe he'll get some of the speed guys that he never had at Washington State. I mean, he had guys that ran the 40 in like 6.9 playing defense there. I mean, those guys, they were slow defensively. He's going to get athletes at Mississippi State.
That's true. You won't have to pull from East Carolina and Eastern Washington for his quarterback anymore.
Yeah.
Pullman sucks too, so I'm not a fan of Starkville, but and the SEC more attractive to being up in Pullman. Should note though that UNLV actually beat him out for a defensive player from LA, so that's kind of interesting. But Leach had barely been there, so kid Nick Demetris actually chose UNLV over Mississippi State. So
I mean, we talked about this last time I was on. I mean, it looks like it's a different ballgame at UNLV right now in terms of what's being attracted to the school, and that's great. I don't know, over and under 3.5 wins this year. I don't know, but I think the future is. I know we've sung this song before, but maybe this time we got somebody who can get him in the win column for a couple of years, and then he'll leave, but the next coach will inherit something stronger, and maybe Rebels can start to build a program that is capable of going to a minor bowl every couple of years. I think everybody'd be pretty happy if that were the case.
I mean, I think it'd be really cool. Like, growing up out here and like having the product in front of me that I've had, you know what I mean, since I've been like 2, like I think that'd be fucking dope.
I don't know anybody. I literally don't know anybody who's ever gone to a UNLV game to watch the football game. It's basically been, well, let's go out to Sam Boyd and have a few and just, kind of hang out. That's kind of what it was. It was a relaxed atmosphere, a nice Saturday evening out. After the sun goes down, it's not quite as hot. Pretty good.
I tell you, there was I went to a game once. It was with my wife now, but we had just started dating, And I took her there not because, or she bought me tickets, but not to watch UNLV football, because Kellen Moore was actually going to set the college football record for most wins as a quarterback. I loved Kellen Moore then. I was like, let's go watch him set it. And then it's funny because I go and watch it, and it was actually like a 1-score game at halftime, and UNLV was actually really trying. And I was like, holy shit, this is what I get. I came here to watch them lose, and they actually might pull this off. Now Kellen Moore and the Broncos ended up pulling away, and they won, but it was pretty good.
And for Aaron, who asks, is Rodgers the QB? He's not here anymore.
Yeah,
different Rodgers though. They have a different Rodgers, so he might.
Well, I think he was talking about Armani, who will be he's not quarterback. That's right.
No. Listen, he went to Ohio. Frank Solich is there. Frank Solich runs, so he's actually that's one of the spots he actually may excel, but he's got to stay healthy. He could be pretty good there, but you're right. He's not a good accurate thrower.
He just can't throw at all.
No, he can't.
I mean, the guy, Solich has always had the quarterbacks with wheels, but, like Nathan Rourke, who's not nearly the athlete Rodgers is, but Nathan Rourke wasn't the worst thrower of all time the last few years. Right. Armani, he'll put the ball on the ground. He'll hit a 40 or 50 yarder, but he'll throw interceptions to a guy who's two yards away. He just can't throw. He just never got better. Because when he first arrived at UNLV, I don't know. I think I was certainly bullish on him. I think most people were just like, wow, once this guy figures it out, he's going to be pretty good.
Right.
And he just never did. Some guys just can't throw, just can't hit a target.
He's got poor form. Everything, either freaking sails or goes straight into the ground. John, what do you think? Over under 3.5 wins for UNLV with an 8-game schedule?
I think I'd rather go under.
Yeah,
right? And then, like in an 8-game schedule, I think when you see 3.5 wins too, people are going to be initially shocked, like under 3.5, like 8-game schedule, 3 wins, I think would be pretty good considering everything, what's going on here,
I haven't gone through their schedule yet, so I can't even give an educated guess.
So they started San Diego State. They come back home. They started San Diego State, come back home on Halloween for the Wolfpack of Nevada. Then they get Fresno at home. Then they go to San Jose State, Colorado State, back-to-back road games. Come back for Wyoming and Boise, and then they end the year at Hawaii.
So they got what I would call three sure losses.
Right.
The other games, they're kind of in the other games. But there's only 5 other games. So they'd have to win 4 of those 5 to get over the 3.5. I don't think I'd want to make that bet.
Yeah, that's tough.
They're not going to be, unlikely to beat Boise. They're unlikely to beat San Diego State, and they're unlikely to beat Wyoming. But the other 5, we'll see.
Yeah, by the way, I would not guarantee that they even play the game at Colorado State because that guy is a total asshole. Steve Adazio, who they got after BC fired him, got in trouble. If you guys remember, they got in trouble about 2 months ago because half the team is like, this fucking guy, we're not wearing masks. He's telling us not to go get tested. The guy's a COVID hoaxer. The Mountain West announces that they're coming back. Then the schedule comes out this week. CSU is like, yeah, this week, after all the kerfuffle 2 months ago, this week, God damn it, 22 COVID positives. Like, did you learn anything?
No, because they shouldn't have hired the guy in the first place. First of all, you never hire a guy on the way down, and he's on the way down.
He's not a match. He's not a match for the region. He's a stubborn buffoon. He's the kind of guy who needed like 5 years off, maybe, and players go through announcing to get a little wake up call. He just doesn't get it.
His ex-players at Boston College practically threw a parade after he left.
Yeah.
They couldn't stand him.
More than a few came out. You don't see that. More than a few came out when CSU hired him. They're like, the guy's an asshole. Why would they do that?
Yeah.
By the way, how about the Gary Anderson quotes today? What was that?
Oh, yeah. You see that, Dave? Yep. Because we still have there's still a chance in the Big Ten. A lot of kids opted back in, but you could have kids opt out. Pac-12 kids could opt out. Gary Anderson of Utah State, like, we don't have opt outs here. If you want to opt out, you're not with us. And then quickly people are like, hey, dickhead, you quote opted out of 2 different college jobs to go to a better job.
Yeah, Anderson.
Huh, Gary Anderson?
The quote, at least in our program, we don't have an opt-out, and it's not an option. If you opt out, you're not with us, end quote.
And Gary Anderson, by the way, congratulations on taking a program that was really in great shape when you arrived.
Yep.
You have a quarterback who ended up getting drafted in the first round, and you managed to turn them into a mediocre Mountain West program in 1 year. That's a hell of a good coach. They rehired a guy. He wasn't any good there the first time.
Right.
He goes to Wisconsin, where he actually didn't really make the most of his opportunities there, and then just kind of left the program. It's like, I'm out of here. I don't know. Sometimes these athletic directors do stuff that is absolutely mind-boggling. I couldn't believe it when Anderson got rehired at Utah State, and so far the results have been predictable.
John, the other one, I don't know if you saw it today, but Wyoming's over 30 positive tests.
Seriously. Wow, I didn't know that.
Listen, you guys, you have to factor in that we're talking about the fact that the virus is obviously more prevalent in these heavily urban areas like Laramie, Wyoming. Oh, that was a joke.
Are they going to play? Are they even going to be able to play in Hawaii at the end of the year?
I don't know if Hawaii will let them come. I'm dead serious on that. Hawaii might say, you know what? You guys stay over there. Okay, we don't want you. We got a nice place here, and we don't want you screwing it up. I think that could happen.
I think Steve froze.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
No.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut out for a second. I'll be back.
All right, Dave. Let me ask you about another game then.
All right.
What do you make about Auburn, Georgia?
Yeah.
Best game on the board.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think about next? Because I was watching that Kentucky game, and you know what? And you're really observant with this kind of shit. I saw a dude who's got some talent, but he was throwing up a lot of like go get 'em balls. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that bothered me because he's supposed to get better this year. It's his second year as the starting quarterback, and he's supposed to get better. He doesn't have quite the same arsenal around him as he did last year, but they look like they've kind of rebuilt in a nice way. I guess that retool is the right word. Right. In the SEC. I mean, their play in the trenches last year was sensational. And if Knicks had been better, they might have won every game they played. He's got to take the next step forward. Georgia was okay last week, but not great, particularly not great in the first half. But I don't know how much you draw into that because of, it was their first game. I didn't bet it, but I'd lean Auburn plus the points. I think this could be a really good game. It's one of those top 10 games that's got a chance to live up to the hype. But I mean, the only disappointment is that this is a game. These are the games where the atmosphere would be right. You really want to watch. I mean, this would be your Saturday special where, this is going to be awesome. And that stuff's not there. That's what I really miss about sports is for most games, I got to tell you, I don't really care if there's fans there or not. I'm just watching the game. But for games of this type, these are the ones where I want to see the game with fans. It adds to the excitement. Unfortunately, that's not up to us.
What do you think? What do you think about quarterback? Are we going to see Stetson Bennett? That's got to be the best option for him, right? Like, are you really throw JT Daniels in there?
I don't know. I'm a Daniels guy. I think what I saw of Daniels, I think if he's with the right coach, he's a sky's the limit type of guy. Guy's got a great arm.
Well, let me put it this way, though. Like, it's not because I'm a JT Daniels guy too. And when they started to shift up that offense, like that one game he played, he looked a lot different. Like, he looks really good. I just more approach it from the standpoint of, do you want his first game to be against Auburn?
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean? Like, Stetson Bennett wasn't that bad.
I think I'd rather go with Daniels off the bench, and if he's needed, come in and maybe be the hero. But I would probably not start him tomorrow. I think they're just, because if Daniels goes out there and plays poorly, it can really mess up his whole season.
Right.
You don't want that to happen because he is the most talented quarterback on that roster.
Let's see. I lost it on the screen. Well, the last look was 7.5?
I can punch it up on mine because I've got the screen on.
Oh, here it is. Yeah, 7.5, 44.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't bet it. It just looked like too tough a game for me. But if I had to bet it, I would go ahead and take the 7.5 and hope for the best.
You think so Oklahoma, I think, opened, did they open 10.5 at Circa? Something like that, 7.5. Is that an overreaction after what happened last week?
No, their defense sucks.
Yeah.
It does. It's terrible. And I said this on the show today with Steve, that Purdy's got big play capabilities. And the other worry I have is that Iowa State, and I've said this a number of times over the past 2 years, and it keeps happening. Iowa State plays to the level of their competition. When they're playing a so-so team, they're not very good. When they play up, they step up a level, that's when they seem to play their best football. They're not going to be afraid of Oklahoma. They took them to the wire last year, 1-point game. I don't know. I know people are going to run and bet Oklahoma here off the collapse last week, but I'm not going to do it. I'm not betting Iowa State either. Iowa State's basically off my card because they just – what I said is accurate on them. But it's not something you can really handicap. You can't say, well, I know they're playing a better team this week, so they'll play well, or I know they're playing a bad team this week, so they're going to suck. You just can't approach things that way, but it's kind of where they are, and it's taken put a little tarnish on the shine of Gary Campbell, I think.
Yeah.
Because this guy was Matt Campbell, excuse me. He was basically the hottest commodity around a couple of years ago.
Yep.
And it's kind of settled in now. It's like, well, maybe he's in the right place after all.
What do you make of Ole Miss? Kentucky 6.5, 63, 62, depending on where you look.
Mississippi isn't any good. But Kentucky just doesn't have the skill position guys. I mean, they actually won the game in the trenches last week against Auburn. And they just couldn't take advantage of it. They just don't have the playmakers. And they might get better as the season goes along, but I'm not sold on them. They ought to beat Mississippi, but I'm not easy laying the points in that game. Ole Miss is not real good right now, though.
I think people are going to see the final score. I think Auburn kicked their ass because that wasn't the point. That wasn't not the game at all. They started to go for it. I think they turned it over in their own territory twice, right? They fumbled it, and then Auburn takes advantage of the short field. Because I'm with you. Like, I like their defensive line. I like their offensive line. I like their backs. I just don't know from a quarterback and wide receiver standpoint if they're dynamic enough to, like, and this is only 6.5, but I'm with you. Like, skill positions are their biggest weakness.
Yeah, and it's tough to lay big points with a team that also might not be able to put away the opponent running the ball.
Yeah.
Those are the favorites I like, is teams that I know, okay, you get a lead, and they're just going to slam you on the ground. And you're not going to get the football back, and that's going to be it. Kentucky doesn't appear to have those capabilities. But they might get better, too. So let's wait and see.
Well, and their secondary didn't look that. I mean, Kyle Trask is really fucking good, but
oh my goodness,
picked them apart.
Trask is. I saw a mock draft this week where Trask was the Raiders' first-round pick.
Ooh,
he is moving up the draft shots.
He looks good, man.
Last week didn't do him any harm, and the only real knock on him last year was he had kind of a Jameis Winston tendency where he just refused to take a sack and would try and make something amazing happen. And if he gets past that and accepts that he can't be the hero on every play, which is the main problem Jameis Winston has, because Winston has all the ability in the world, Trask could end up being real good. Not bad for a guy who was behind Felipe Franks on the depth chart. Wow. By the way, Felipe Franks still looks like Felipe Franks. Saw him last week.
I feel bad for that kid.
Yeah. Some guys just aren't that good.
Yeah. What's Florida tomorrow? Florida, South Carolina. No. Yeah, Florida, South 16, 17.
Yes. South Carolina's got a pretty good defense, but that could be a bloodletting. I'm tempted. I haven't played it yet, but I'm still considering Florida as a last-minute ad.
Well, at least the one thing you got going for you is Muschamp knows the spread. He'll do everything he can to get you within that number.
Well, and the other thing is that they weren't bad against Tennessee last week. I was kind of lucky. I was lucky to cash that ticket last week. And generally speaking, if I get lucky betting against the team, it's like maybe not going to try and get lucky against them twice.
That's why, actually, let me double check what this number is. Yeah, like so it's like 12.5 now with Missouri. Like Guarantano was fine. I thought he missed some. They were like what 1 for 12 on third down. Like,
Oh, he was terrible.
Yeah, they weren't that good. And like now, like I thought Missouri up front was pretty good against Alabama's run game. They looked a little bit better in the fourth quarter. Like I don't know. This seems like a lot of points for Tennessee tomorrow.
I'll make a prediction that Marr or the third guy whose name escapes me will eventually end up starting at quarterback for Tennessee. Guarantano's he's the same. He's another guy who just hasn't gotten better, and he misses open. He misses wide open guys too often. I know that Coach. I've got some good connections at Tennessee, and they really like his leadership. And he came into the season really confident and looked good in practice, and then he went out last week, and that could have been a blowout if he'd been on target on some of the third down throws that were open last week. That's a 20-point win.
Yep.
And instead, you're really sweating at the end. And fortunately, there was the fumbled punt wrapped up the game for Tennessee because South Carolina was going to get the ball back with a chance to get down the field late, and so that was. I think Tennessee's a year away, to be honest with you. I think the program's heading back in the right direction, but I don't think they'll be a good team this year, but they're not as good as I thought they would be coming in. I thought this was going to be a top 20 team, and I'm not sure they are.
Hey, John, you got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Right. Sorry about that. Punched up a flunky page and it shut down the computer.
I got one more for Dave.
Yeah.
Can I ask him one more?
Hey, do what you want.
How bad is Duke?
Oof.
Dude, like the curse of the former Clemson quarterback, huh? Like didn't work out for Northwestern. Chase Bryce looks shell-shocked after like 3 games.
God.
He looks fucking awful.
He was a train wreck last week against Virginia. It just was that worked out very well for me. I don't know what and they've got a quarterback whisperer in Cutcliffe, and even he can't fix him. And the two other guys can't play.
I was going to say my favorite part about last week, they put all 3 quarterbacks in. All 3 of them turned the ball over at least once. Like it was fucking bad.
Well, they basically can only throw to running backs and tight ends
right
at this point, and hope the defense keeps them in the game. And Virginia Tech looked really good last week.
Like half the team missing.
Yeah, that line's going up, and I'm glad I got it early. Let's put it that way. I took Virginia Tech very early in the week, and I feel pretty good about that one.
What about what Aaron says here? Virginia within 28 of Clemson.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's around the right number. I wouldn't be surprised if Virginia gives them a reasonably competitive game. Bronco's got to make sure he doesn't put too much in the hands of the quarterback, who's young, and he was not real accurate last week, but he's put the personnel in place at Virginia, so they're going to be a pretty good football team every year. Bronco Mendenhall is a really good football coach, and Virginia's becoming a very respectable program, and they're starting to get better athletes there too. They're not Clemson level, but Virginia's now a program that's probably going to be a decent bowl qualifier every year with Mendenhall, as long as he stays there, and he appears to love it there. And Virginia Tech's going to become a really good rivalry to watch annually, because Fuentes seems to finally have it going the way he wants to, Fuente, I should say, at Virginia Tech, and those are both quality programs.
So for both of you guys, can I bounce off super contest considerations that we've got going?
Yeah,
that we're
sure.
thinking about? All right, ready? Chiefs -7 against the Patriots.
I'm not betting against Mahomes.
Too much?
I don't necessarily think it is.
Yeah. I didn't know what to do with it. Like, I didn't bet it because I couldn't get over laying 7 points against Bill Belichick, no matter what the situation was.
Right.
But, like, Cam hasn't really – that was bad Cam Newton against the Raiders last week. And, like, you wonder if that's really – like, we've seen, like, 3 different versions of Cam Newton. You have no idea what you're going to see going forward.
Yeah. I don't think the Patriots are going to get crushed.
Yeah.
It's not a bad scheduling situation because Kansas City put a lot into the Baltimore game. They really wanted that, and they were impressive. But I'm starting to think they're just that much better than everybody else in the league. I mean, it's way too early to say 16-0.
Right.
But it could get interesting later on.
I mean, how Warriors-esque was that performance? Like the first 2 weeks, you look like you're just kind of getting through the games, whatever. And then Monday night against Baltimore, let's take our first 3 drives down for touchdowns and beat the shit out of them. Like it was insane.
I mean, Baltimore's a good team, and they made him look like it looked like, I don't know, Alabama versus UNLV at times. It was like, we're gonna do whatever we want, and you can't do anything to stop us. And by the way, our defense is better than it was last year. That's a pleasant thought.
Yep. Right. Eagles +7 at the 39ers, the 29ers. That's in the Super Contest. Obviously, the number's gone down. Has it gone down a half so far? It's 1.6.5. Still +7. Eagles +7 at Niners.
I guess I lean Eagles, but the 49ers do get Kittle back, and they do get Debo back, and those are 2 difference makers on offense. But you know what the Eagles are going to be? They're going to be one of those teams that's just bad enough to be competitive losers on a frequent basis this year. And you know what? I am interested to see how the quarterback performs here, because this is the most heat he's had in terms of, hey, what are they going to do at quarterback? This is a game Wentz needs to step up and play well in, or it could go the other way for the Eagles. I would lean to Philadelphia plus the points, but I'm not going to bet it.
I bet it, Steve.
Did you?
Yeah, I bet Eagles +7. I like the spot. And, it's interesting to me from a numbers perspective. The look ahead of the Westgate for this was, I think, 3.5, 4. And then they beat the crap out of the Giants, and all of a sudden we're looking at 7. And I get it. Like, there's another part, right? It's the Wentz and the Eagles. It's the Eagles equation. The Giants aren't a good football team. And, like, if we're going to overvalue a beat-up 49ers team after doing that, I think it's a little too much. And they are still really banged up defensively, right? You're still missing 3 key guys in that front 7. And, like, that's something that I think is not being, like, factored for. Carson Wentz looks kind of bad. But if you read all the research behind him, he's still making the right choices. It's just the accuracy and, like, the mechanics that aren't there. Like, I feel like there's still something there with him. So I took 7. I just think it's a little overreaction.
I did see one good thing out of Wentz last game. He's starting to use his legs again.
Right.
Which I think is a big part of his game. And I think he's been hesitant since the injury. But he may have reached the point now. It's like, the hell with it. I got to go get back to being myself. His throwing, I think his throwing will get better the more he uses his legs. I think he needs to be what he used to be in terms of being a well-rounded quarterback, and not just be Drew Bledsoe sitting in the pocket. That's not his game.
Mm-hmm.
Buccaneers -7 against the Chargers.
Oh, the Chargers are not good.
Their offensive line's destroyed again.
Oh, God. Yeah, and now they've got the rookie quarterback. And I'm not a big favorite guy, but geez, I could only.
You're going to hear it. As I'm going through this, I'm like, I don't do this. I don't lay touchdowns.
I could only play Tampa in this game.
All right. John?
TB12?
Trust in TB12?
I would agree with that. Like, the defense effort-wise is, like, really trying. You can really tell. But, like, offensively, obviously with Herbert in there, he looked a little bit worse the game before. But their offensive lines beat the shit again. Like, and defensively, that front 7 for Tampa Bay is, like, pretty underrated. They're really good. So I would be with that side.
An interesting thing, by the way, once fans are allowed back, I think there's a reasonable chance the Chargers will ask to get to not have to play in what would be an empty new stadium and go back to Carson where it looks like there's a crowd.
I hope not. Carson's terrible.
Well, it might be, but I mean, the Chargers are going to be – you'll have trouble giving away tickets to their games in L.A. because they're going to suck. Yeah, they're going to be bad for a while. Anthony Lynn will end up getting the blame. Not his fault. They just don't have very good – they don't have very good players.
Dolphins as a dog. In the contest, it's still 6.5. So it was 6.5. It's going to stay 6.5. Dolphins +6.5 against Seahawks.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Dolphins give them a game. I think they're improving. And Seattle's defense is
not good.
It's not real good. No. You can get a shootout there. The Dolphins are playing with some confidence. I think they're having fun. And I wouldn't be surprised if they give Seattle a really good game here.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You give up 500 yards to the Falcons in week 1. Patriots and Cam, it was a shootout, right? Last week against the Cowboys, another 500-yard game for the opposing offense. They got no pass rush, and Fitzpatrick showed last Thursday, right? If you give him a bad defense, he'll pick it apart. Like, he's not terrible, especially if you're bad. And I don't think Seattle's defense is very good. I would be with that one.
All right. Texans minus 4.5 against the Vikings. It's now 3.5 around town.
Yeah, I think that was a bad number. Not the Vikings. I mean, they're not good, but neither are the Texans. I think a little bit. I think maybe there was an adjustment up or some early action up because the Vikings missed a day and a half.
Right.
I think that's completely overrated. They did virtual stuff. To me, these teams are dead even, and you're getting more than a field goal. I took 4.5 when the 4.5 was on there. Okay, I'm in, and I think I've got a good chance to win this game. Houston's got troubles. That Hopkins trade is going to haunt them for a long time. It changed their whole offense. He might be the best receiver in the league, and all respect to the running back David
Johnson.
David Johnson, great player, but in today's NFL, a really good wide receiver is worth more than a really good running back.
Yeah. I'd also say, too, I mean, kind of along that line of thinking, like I do wonder, Steve, if like the Justin Jefferson game was something they finally figured out. Like, hey, we spent a high pick on this kid. Let's get him involved with the offense. And he looked fucking great against Tennessee last week. And I think that's another part of their offense that they finally discovered because they seemed pretty tentative to get him involved in the first few weeks. And then against Tennessee, who, by the way, quietly has a really bad defense, too. They were just like, all right, let's get this kid some work. And he was awesome.
Also, from this is kind of the stuff I like standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
I really do want to see Bill O'Brien go 0-4, so the fans in Houston can go absolutely bananas about him still being there.
It's an amazing story. It really is. One more game, and we have others under consideration. Lions +4 against the Saints. Now we find out Saints know Michael Thomas. No, but in the Super Contest, it's 4.
Yeah.
It's 3 now. Lions 4, no Michael Thomas, no Jared Cook, no Lattimore. Too dangerous to play the Lions in the spot?
It is for me, because now the Lions basically have to beat them. And even though the Saints aren't playing well, and they're 1-2, and they're all beat up, it's still Sean Payton against Matt Patricia. And at some point, that has to enter your mindset. I can't play the Lions.
I'd also say, too, like their offense was taking advantage of Green Bay's defense for the most part. Like if Taysom Hill doesn't fumble that ball, right, they're going down to potentially take a lead, and maybe that game changes a little bit differently. But I would say I'm with Dave. Like, to the end of the day, like I think Patricia's so bad. Like I can't do it.
I know maybe they figured something out last week. It was a good game for them, but I just don't trust. It's just so many years of this. I can only imagine what it's like for Lions fans. Yeah. It's so many years of the same thing where it's like, oh, here we go. And then they just go back and become the Lions again. Yeah. It's just some organizations just never get it right.
This is a stupid thing to say when you're picking games, but we did have the Lions last week in the Super Contest, so it's almost like we're playing with fire back-to-back weeks, firing on the Lions, hoping for 2-0 ATS.
What about I want to bring up a game. I know they've been a team that continuously flops, but it's the battle of the flops. The Browns and Cowboys. I think Cleveland's got a really good chance to win this game. And I know I've gone down this route before, and it's like, and they just. But Dallas is making even more mistakes than the Browns. I mean, the Cowboys, they've been pretty bad so far.
They have.
The Seattle game only got close because. And you got a Seattle player who didn't know where the end zone was and cost his team a touchdown. I don't know. The fans couldn't stand Garrett, so they bring in Mike McCarthy, who basically got run out of Green Bay. They're going to win the NFC East probably because the division is a train wreck.
They're going to stumble into it.
Somebody has to win. The rules say somebody has to win. But I think Cleveland is just as good as Dallas. There's no home field advantage. This year, I think Cleveland plus the points in that game is absolutely the right side. I believe me, I'm not as good in the NFL as college, so take that with a grain of salt. But I'm going to be on the dog in that game.
So I last week I used Cleveland in the teaser. I didn't trust them laying 7. They ultimately covered. But I bet the Cowboys already. I laid 4.5 with them. So this will be interesting because One, Cleveland's defense is beat to hell. Like there's so many injuries in that secondary.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's going to be really tough against the wide receiving core that the Cowboys have. That's a really good wide receiving core. So that was one of the big parts of it. But the other is too, like, I just think that when you look at it from the Cowboys' perspective, offensively, it's the defense has been their big issue. But that defense for Cleveland has been so bad through 3 games. Washington took a lead late in that game against them, right? They had to come back and actually score and take the lead and ultimately pulled away. Like, I just think they're so bad defensively. I think Dallas is going to be able to at least cover 4.5. So I laid it. It opened, I think, 5.5, if I remember correctly, too. So,
and you've always got the concern that Baker Mayfield, while an absolutely fine actor,
right,
is not a great quarterback at times.
Those commercials are good, huh?
He's pretty good. Yeah. He's a good actor. I think he should seriously consider maybe if things don't work out the next year or two and he doesn't get better, maybe just call it a day in football and go to Hollywood. He's got a future there. I mean, he's good. He's a much better actor than Aaron Rodgers.
You can see him
Aaron Rodgers is a terrible actor.
I can see Mayfield in like a Will Ferrell like slapstick kind of comedy. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he's got a good sense of humor. Yep. Yeah. Aaron Rodgers, seriously, the dog in that latest Allstate commercial or whatever it is, State Farm, I guess. The dog's the best actor in that commercial. The way he lays down when Rodgers throws the ball too far, that's impressive. But Rodgers, he did not learn any acting skills in his relationship with the hottie. What was her name? Olivia
Munn.
Yeah, who's just gorgeous. Yeah. She's beautiful.
It's just beard to beard to beard. Poor guy. Let's make one final bet here. You ready?
Wait! I got a game to ask you guys about.
Oh, give it to us. Yeah.
Bears Colts. What do you think? I like the Colts a lot in that game. I think Nick Foles. I think people are going to get all hyped up. Like, clearly, Nick Foles came in and they won the game, right? Nick Foles also threw an interception on the 2-point conversion, threw another interception on a 3rd down. He rolls to his left, throws into triple coverage, and it gets through somehow to Jimmy Graham. Like, I don't think he's that much better. And I saw the number was 3, and it came off of it, went to 2.5, and I laid 2.5. What do you think about Colts Bears?
I don't disagree, but I'm going to wait for the Bears to lose one, and then maybe the roof will cave in.
Yeah.
But right now, everything's going right for them, and they've somehow managed to win 3 games, which they shouldn't have beaten Detroit. They shouldn't have won last week. And, but they are winning. Yep. So they've got I don't really like going against 3-0 teams that are cast as home dogs. The line is obviously telling you the Indianapolis is the better team, but I think I'll wait for a week.
Dude, Jake from State Farm needs to get some extra large shirts.
Yeah, he's a bit swole.
It's ridiculous.
Final bet of the weekend, and I hope this event goes down because I'm pretty confident that I'm going to win this.
The election?
No.
That's not this weekend.
Adam Hill relaying a story from one Doug Kazarian. Doug Kazarian apparently says that he can throw a football 50, an NFL football too. Okay, all right. The
50 yards?
Yep.
I'm gonna make Doug the dog in that. I don't know. That's a long way.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and I don't. You guys have met Doug before. I've never shook his hand. I don't know what the size of his hands are.
That's the other problem. Baby hands.
Right. Like, so if we're talking the Duke with like some Dante Culpepper hands, I don't know.
I forgot about that factor. He's got baby hands. They're fat, but they're small, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, like if he can't even get him over the laces, if he's throwing on like the tiny side of the ball, no, I don't think so.
Yep. Truth from Duluth says max bet under. Connor says no way Doug can throw 50 yards.
We should note that he said he's going to do like, what is it, the little crow hop, like running start crow hop, like, yeah.
I don't care.
Still 50 yards.
Right.
Run from the goal line to midfield. He won't make it. He'll wind and pass out. But run 20 yards. I don't give a shit how far you run. Doesn't matter. Now this would be interesting.
Ooh.
Like what would be the plus price to get it over the 30?
No, 30. I think 30.
Dude,
30 is doable.
And
there's a huge difference between 30 and 50.
If we do this, we're doing it quickly too. There's not going to be weeks of throwing and loosening your
arm. No. Right.
He's not going to do it because he already, you know what he does. You know his deal, right, John? Well, he'll throw something out and then he hems and haws and he debates and then, it's conditions and, oh, that's not exactly what I said. Like, all right, we're out. He'll ruin it by freaking filibustering for a week.
Wait, you got to put that back up though. Come on.
Sorry.
By the way, you want to know? You want to know? This is just how you put that up again. I almost just now went to the notifications where it says 6 and tried to click on it. I'm not making that up.
Wait.
I got to see the responses.
What's that tweet right there? That's a good tweet right there, I think. Down below. What is that, huh?
I guess you capitalized on Adam's picture. I might have to hold on.
Let's see it.
Let me shrink this. That's what I
Look
have to
at this
say.
picture, Dave.
Oh no, we lost it. Hold on. Come on, you son of a bitch. Yeah, Adam. They put Adam with the football in the oversized jacket. So here's the picture.
Can you blow it up?
Yeah, it's gonna load up here. That's the picture. By the way, the jacket's fucking absurd.
Right.
Take buttons off. I mean, I don't think that's a full. I don't believe that's a full size football because Adam's hands look big on that.
Right.
Yeah, Adam's like 6'3.5", and his hands actually. If you do the, I mean, I'll admit John, did we ever do the combine on your hands?
I don't think we did. No.
Sounded creepy. The combine measurement of the hands is actually a lot of it's based on its hand size, but it's also on your flexibility, your plasticity. Because I don't know if anyone can see. Like it basically, hold on, get in there. They do it from your thumb to your pinky, so you got to like really stretch it down, and it's measure across, almost like if you can go flat. I can't get the fucking thing in there, but if you can do it like that,
like this,
like across. No, they do. So it's like here to here.
Oh,
instead of hand, they do hand length. But anyway, hand size. Adam's got no hand size.
I got little hands.
Yeah, Kazarian's got. He's. I don't know what he is now. Have you seen him lately?
No, I haven't seen. The last time I saw Doug was last summer in an airport.
I think Brady ducked out. Brady Barron's one of our top commenters. He ducked out, but Brady was saying that he's more likely to eat the football. So,
wow.
I don't know if that's a commentary on his weight or what's going on, but yeah, I actually think Adam has dropped under myself and Kazarian for weight. So you can see where we are right now.
How far do you guys think you could throw a football? I know I can't. I could never throw it very far.
Oh, a Duke? Like a football?
No, real football.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, the Duke.
Yeah, 15, 20 yards, maybe 20 yards.
I'm going to say about 20 yards for me.
My hands are so small, I don't think I'd be able to.
About as far as I could get it. And I'd probably hurt my arm doing so.
I might go buy one tomorrow. The last time I had this thought, someone was talking about kicking field goals, and man, I got a football and a tee. Oh, dude, I got a football and a tee. And I went out to kick a couple of footballs, and I tried like 5, and every one of them was just some line drive, like on the ground. I'm like, gee, I can't do shit anymore. What? I have nothing in my leg. It's done.
Well, once you lose it, boy, it's gone.
Oh yeah.
The last time I tried anything athletic was when I was still doing the show with you, and we had the home run derby thing.
Dave, you were not that bad.
I was bad.
But I don't know what you were like, 40 years ago. I didn't think you were that bad, but I mean, mostly you hit a lot of ground balls and some line drives.
Yeah, but it was like, oh my God, I have no talent. Not that I was ever that talented, but I have none left whatsoever. I decided at that point I'm going to spend the rest of my life sitting behind a desk. I'm never doing anything again. Plus my golf game also went bad.
Well, because your back got all fucked up.
Yeah, but it wasn't just that. I mean, I actually hit the ball a long way for a guy my size. I was consistently out there about 260. Well, I was. I mean,
I'm sorry. I'm laughing at Aaron said I hurt my labrum for 4 months trying to rush a heater in the upper. That's what happened.
Anyway, I lost 60 yards out of the drive.
Oh, God.
It's like, fuck it, I'm not going to do this anymore. So I just use the eye as an excuse now.
Yeah. Kazarian strikes me as one of those guys who thought he was a really good athlete, never was, and has now built himself up to be better than he used to be. So I don't want to hear that you played water polo at fucking Brown JV team. Nonsense. I'm sure it was a big donation, and there's the Kazarian water polo.
Right. Doug's going to have to come on now and have a chance to offer a rebuttal.
Yep. And we did, we keep getting questions about Seat, and this is Jim's comment. I don't know where Seat is. No one really knows where Seat is. He hasn't been around the station at all. But yeah, Seat, Seat was in our home run derby that we did with the station, and Seat just ripped line drives down the left field line, and he's like, that's kind of here I was. But he did multiple home run challenges at Cashman, and like Jim said, like he can't lift the ball. And it was the same thing, Dave. Seat got to a point where it's like, dude, you're not young anymore.
Right, because the good thing is Seat was a pretty good athlete.
Yeah, he was a good
I mean, he played college ball.
It's like, but it's 30 years ago,
yeah,
John.
Yeah. It's tough it really is tough to admit to yourself that you can't do things that you used to do anymore.
Yeah.
And that happened to say, so Seat's not unique by any means. That it's like the knowledge of how to do it was still there, but the body just wasn't cooperating anymore. The body was saying, no, sorry, you're old.
And you know what does stick around? If you truly were like a college level, pro level athlete, those guys, if they stay in shape, actually can do it past like 60 years old.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
They're just, I mean, I think the average guy out there, we start to build up what we were, and we don't realize like the gap between ourselves and a pro athlete. These guys, like even the worst freaking guy in baseball, like, and I'm not saying he's bad. When Cordova came out there, right? And Marty Cordova was a rookie of the year. So Marty was a really good baseball player. He played like 10 years in the majors. Marty came out at our home run derby at I always forget the name. It's not Field of Dreams, but whatever it's called on
it's the place with the mock-ups of Fenway and
down on Sunset.
Yeah.
No.
It's north of 95 and Eastern.
Right.
Okay.
Marty got out there with a wooden bat lefty. And he was fucking banging home runs. Like we combined with the listeners, I think we hit like 9 home runs. Marty gets up there and it's like 5 straight swings, lefty gone.
Yeah, the last time I had a good hit, good swing of the bat was another station deal, and this was at Field of Dreams, the place on Sunset with the Fenway Park wall.
Okay.
And I managed on a 70-mile-an-hour fastball, I hit the wall.
Oh wow. Look at you.
And it was a complete fluke. It's like, how did that happen? But it was only one swing.
Now you look back, you're like, that was the last hurrah.
It was, yeah. It's depressing.
You know what? Next week to be a cheese ball, I'll have to punch up some old pictures of us like 15 years ago. There's been a little age, slight age. Kind of aged a little bit. It happens.
I did it. I think I hit 4 3-pointers in like 13 shots in the 3-point in the basketball contest we had a few years ago.
That was amazing. Guess who choked? Guess who choked, John?
What?
Because the rules got changed at the last minute. Guess who choked?
Adam.
Yep. It's like the rules changed. Bullshit. You complain that you can't shoot outside. We come up with the freaking static atmosphere. You're in a nice gym, and then the rules change. I don't get as many shots. Now this guy, every competition we did, Paulie, every competition we did, he talked shit beforehand and never came through. So Mitch is the only one who actually exceeded expectations, and he did well in bowling. But Mitch did okay with the home runs. But no, Paul's a nightmare.
Mitch threw like a 260 in the bowling thing.
He did, yeah.
And it was like, holy shit.
Mitch and the Markness can fire up like a 175 average in bowling. Not bad. And they both go north of 200 more than a few times. So we should do that. Now that we're old, we got to bring back some elements of the old guy triathlon. Some of them.
Yeah.
You know what's different now too? We have athletes in the building like that. That's when it's really fun. Like if we can get Lincoln Kennedy, I think Darren Millard would be kind of interesting because he's a thin guy who's kind of in shape and covers hockey, and I'm sure he looks at us like a bunch of fucking fat asses and like, okay, let's try it.
And you've got someone who can supply the barbecue.
Yeah. I tell you, what we should do? John, you and I have talked about this before. We really do need, with all the show hosts and contributors, we need to have a cooking contest. Dave, we have some freaking amateur chefs on the staff. Like it's crazy.
It's perfect. And you could have J.R. Starkus come by and supply the booze.
Right?
Could be a hell of an event.
Fuck you, COVID. Go away so we can do gatherings.
Really? I got it. I mean, Mark's barbecue, I barely know him. I've only met him a few times, but it's like, I want to be his best friend.
Dude, his food looks
because he posts pictures of his barbecue, and it's like, oh, man, that looks really good.
He fried catfish last week, and I don't even eat catfish. And I was like, Jesus Christ, that looks good.
Well, what was embarrassing was when he posted his food, and
I know.
it wasn't embarrassing. I mean, yours looked good,
No.
but then it was compared to his. It was like, oh, I know where I'm.
Unfair.
Although,
I know what I mean.
next week I will show off some more food. I finally got, and it wasn't like some big purchase, but I finally got the cast iron pan. That's a goddamn game changer.
Yeah.
I'm back, baby. I'm back. I couldn't get the char. This thing's high heat. I can get the char. I'm good. I'm ready to go. All right, John. Good job. Dave, appreciate it. So Dave will be in every Friday. John will be in every Friday. So we got a strong Friday lineup, and we'll go through the football games and whatever else is going on. And I don't think we're going to have any kind of tailgate barbecue broadcast anytime soon. We're going to try
for a while.
Yeah, we do need that. This would be good. Chopped Vegas radio host or radio contributors.